All right, next question is from Chanel. I hope you don't mind us using your name because you didn't say it was anonymous. So Chanel says, hi, I hope you're both doing well. My name is Chanel, and I had a quick question. With tales of the recession coming, what should we be doing to prepare? If this was already answered in a podcast episode, would you be able to tell me which one? Thanks for your help. Chanel, we might have, but sis, with what's going on now, we finna answer it again. Okay. So how should people prepare, and how are you preparing, Mandi, for the upcoming recession? I feel like it's like a party. Like, Elle, how you doing? What you gonna wear for the recession, girl? Who all over there?
It's recession girl summer. Is that a thing? Yeah. So the thing is, my preparation for the recession started the minute I was laid off in 2010 of the year of our Lord, 2010. When I was laid off, I decided right then I was always going to stay ready for the next recession. You will not catch me off guard. So my preparation, I'm not really doing anything differently today than in the past. But the thing is, so you have to kind of look at your financial picture. Do you have, how's your emergency funds looking? Do you have debt? If so, is there any way that you can start to work toward paying that off, or restructure things so that you're not, using as much of your free cash flow for that debt for the time being, just to buy yourself some time and give yourself extra financial wiggle room. I think it's also really important to think of like how you're professionally preparing yourself for recession. So that's one of the reasons why this week I held a free workshop called Recession-Proof Your Career, because I believe very strongly that so much of our career is the root of our financial, of the ability for ourselves to grow our finances. So professionally, what you can do to sort of hedge against recessions and tough economic times are to always be investing in your own skills and the value you bring to companies. The people who will be in most danger of being cut, and if companies do decide to downsize as they have been doing, are the ones whose skills can be easily replaced or automated. So what are you bringing to the table that is going to make you super valuable? And maybe you are released from your job, but will other people be looking for someone with your skills and talents? Sometimes people are laid off through no fault of their own, or not because the company doesn't need their skills, but companies just got to make the books, the math has to math for Wall Street to be happy with them, right? So they make these drastic cuts. Doesn't mean that your skills are not needed, but will other companies want them? So I'm always thinking about like, what are the skills that I have today? And then will multiple companies be interested in me? I think that's a great way to give yourself some professional security. Don't wait until times are difficult either to actually reach out to your network and to keep your network warm, because it's a lot harder to reach out to folks for help or for referrals or for like help, getting a job or whatnot when things are really dicey and everyone's sort of stressed out. I think it's better to cultivate those relationships, always. And I think our previous question too was a really good example of like, I don't know, how to look at where you have your money now and does it make the most sense for you? Are you, and I think it's a good time to like be restructuring your investments. If you're overly risky, like maybe your risk tolerance for investing in the stock market is not as strong as you thought it was, and you can't sleep, and you have so much of your investments tied up in stocks, and maybe it's time to rethink that. Maybe you're getting older, or you just, can't handle the anxiety, and maybe you need to shift some over into less risky investments. Like our last listener, she asked about I bonds. There's other forms of bonds you could purchase as well that are protected. High yield savings, CDs, things like that. I mean, there's a bunch you can kind of do. What do you think, Tiff?
Well, I would say, first and foremost, I need you to figure out what your noodle budget is. I mean, this is when I survived the 2009 recession. That was a mistake that I made, that I did not quickly drop down and get your noodle on, girl. Drop down and get your noodle on, girl. So your noodle budget is like, think back, like if you had to eat ramen noodles like college, right? Meaning, if I look at my budget, and let's just say my life cost me $5,000 a month, mortgage, car, no, everything, right? But it also includes like hair done, nails done, everything did. But my life could potentially cost me $4,000 a month if I cut out the things that are not necessities, right? So I'm not saying you should live at your noodle budget, but you should know what it is. That way, if really the shit hits the fan, for lack of a better word, then you know instantly what you can cut out. because too many people were losing their homes and still had cable. Like when I say too many people, I am people. I was still paying like $100 something a month for cable, and I lost my home to foreclosure. And it was like, not that $100 something a month would have saved my house. It wasn't about the house at that point. That was grocery money for me. That was other bills that could have been paid. So one, identify your noodle budget. You don't have to drop down to it yet, but just know if times get tough, you can. So that's one of the things. Something else too is like, sometimes you have to identify even more than your noodle budget. I call it my health and safety budget. So noodle budget is I can still pay the bills, but I just don't have any excess. My health and safety budget is what I had to drop down to when I lost my job during the recession, the 2009 recession. And I lost my house to foreclosure. Now I was really, really struggling. And the health and safety budget is ain't nobody getting paid unless it supports my health and my safety. That meant they were people like my credit cards that were late. And I had to be okay with that because I am more important than my bills. I had to call the credit card companies and say, hey, I don't have it right now because I'm going to get my asthma medicine instead. I'm going to make sure that I have enough for this place where I have to live. So I'm not homeless. I'm going to have enough so I can eat. And so there's levels. There's your regular budget, which you're likely living at now. Great. Know what your noodle budget is. So if you have to drop down to that, which is just the non-bells and whistles budget, great. Then know your health and safety budget, whereas it means that some bills won't get paid because you have to take care of your health and safety. So really understanding your tiers and doing so. But also too, one of the reasons why I wrote, I haven't done a Get Good with Money plug in a long time. Okay. My New York Times bestselling book, Get Good with Money. But honestly, one of the reasons why I wrote it was in response to how I struggled during the 2009-10 recession. I wanted to create this holistic look of your money that I call financial wholeness. And that is these 10 components of your personal finances that will allow you to see you through the good and the bad. And so focusing on your financial wholeness, honestly. So here are the 10 components: budgeting, savings, debt, credit, learning to earn. So that's like financial wholeness 101. That's the core foundation. And then financial wholeness 102 is investing for both retirement and wealth, right? It is your insurance, it is your money team, your net worth, and estate planning. So I would focus on the first 5 components of financial wholeness, like really tightening up on your budget, on your savings plan, on lowering your debt and managing your credit and learning to earn. If you need help with that, you can go head on over to getgoodwithmoney.com and go ahead and scoop that book up. No, but honestly, like that's why I wrote that book. And honestly, it's just an accumulation of the work that I do, which is I'm really here to help you to build this financial foundation so you can see your way through the most difficult parts of your financial journey and your life's journey as it relates to your money. And so that's what I would suggest: understanding your tiers, really working on this financial wholeness part, and also not purchasing any big ticket items unless you are really solid with your debt, your investments. You have your retirement fund, you have your 6 to 12 months worth of an emergency fund. I would not be buying a big ticket item right now because you might need that money to survive through this. So just keep those things in mind.
Yeah, and Chanel doesn't mention much about her assets and how much she hasn't. She doesn't mention anything about her debt, or her cash on hand. But for those who have the means, and for those who have a long time horizon, I would not want y'all to stop investing. I mean, this is my advice with a lowercase a, not an investment advisor. But if you have the means, and I almost said previous caller, our previous question from listener TD, who has wants to do something with her investments next year. That's a very short time horizon. Yeah, snatch that money up and do something else with it. But if you're investing for retirement, things like that, I would say, keep investing. Things are cheap. Look at it that way. You can buy more shares of companies now than maybe you could, months ago. And that was one of the great lessons I learned post recession of 2008, 2009, when I was laid off in 2010 as a result of that, like several years it took for that whole recession to just like chill out. And I learned then investing even during tough times, and it has benefited me enormously. Investing through the pandemic, investing through my early years in my career, which was post 08 crisis. Yeah. if you can, keep going. It's just hard to give that specific advice to you, Miss Chanel, because I don't know all your business. But if you have a professional advisor who does, then they can certainly help you there.
Yeah.
You mentioned credit card debt too, Tiffany. I was reading something about how Americans are like credit card debt is starting to rise.
Yeah. I'm not
Which is
surprised.
concerning, right? I mean, I'm not surprised. Things are so much more expensive.
Yeah.
Like, and there's this calculator that I want to share with y'all. I'm gonna find a link to it. It's like your personal inflation calculator, and it helps,
Mm.
I think, it helps give important perspective to how not everyone is feeling this inflation at the same pace as other
Mm-hmm.
people. It really depends on your lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
your household size, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
renting, whether you're owning a home, if you need a car, like, and your personal
Yeah.
inflation rate can be so much higher than what we all
Yes.
say. It's like, oh, 8%. No, it can be double, triple that depending on
Yeah.
what you're
Like if
going
you
through.
like I drove down here, I drove to, like upstate New York from Newark. Cause typically I don't drive. I work from home. And so I was
Mm,
not privy to the sting of paying for gas. Cause honestly, like the Whole Foods I go to is in Newark. My sister lives around the corner. My other, everything is so close until like the tank finally got to E and I
mm.
filled it up. When the man told me $95, I looked like, who's he talking to? Not me.
What did you? That's
Because
crazy.
I put a
What were you
premium.
driving? What are you driving?
Jarrell has a Lincoln MKZ. I don't know, one of these big cars I'm holding for Alyssa that she wants for when she turns like I guess 17 or 18, so she can crash the car because that's what they all do. But so I gave my sister my car. I know. I gave my
Okay.
sister my car and I kept Jarrell's car, which is it's kind of a big car. But he was always like,
Mm.
no, make sure you always put premium gas or whatever. I was like, this thing's about to get some water. And so I filled it up and I was like, what? Because the truth is, I never really looked like I
Damn.
just go to the gas station. Back when I was driving a lot, like I used to live in South Jersey and I would drive all the way to Newark, I knew exactly the cheap gas stations because I'm like, no, 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 no. And I was driving like a little like
Mm-hmm.
Nissan Altima. And so I could put like, rocks and stones and that thing could drive. But I like, because I hardly ever drive, I wasn't really looking at prices. I just pulled up, was like, fill it up. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Or did you just ask for a car note? So to your point, Mandi,
Yeah.
about that inflation hits people differently. Someone like me who doesn't drive very often,
Mm-hmm.
the inflation of gas has not hit me as hard because I'm not, filling up my tank as much. So just being mindful of your lifestyle and asking yourself, if you had to cut back, or if you had to make more, start planning out what does that look like now, because that might be coming. And so it's like, okay, if I had to, I could do this, or I could do this, because I was just talking to one of my friends, Cabral, today about ways that he was like, I'm really good at this, 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 and this, and I call that the bank. The bank is an area in my life that I could bank on making money. Like if things got really tight, let's just say, everybody hates the budgetista, right? I could do one-on-ones and I could bank on that and say, hey, people do want to sit down with me with their personal finances. And so like, that's like, I remember, Mandi, when you first started your business, your bank was, you were an editor. And you're like, I can write, I can edit. It may not be my fave, but I know I can bank on that skill set and make money if need
1,000%.
be. So ask yourself
Yep.
too, for those listening, like, do you have something you can bank on? For me, even when I was teaching preschool, my bank was I could tutor, I could babysit. The bank might be driving Uber. Like, what does that look like for you? You don't have to do it now, but identifying that is certainly going to help. So if you need to tap into it, it's there and ready for you.
I love that. It's almost like a noodle budget for your career or your
Yes.
professional skills.
Mm-hmm.
We got to work on that, but that's really smart. I love that. Well, let's be clear too. We're not technically in an official recession yet,
Yes.
but I think it's the slow burn of this whole painful situation is that there is time to make changes now that could definitely prepare you if it came to that. And if, a year or two from now, you personally are affected by this downturn that we're going through right now. So yeah, absolutely. I love what Tiff said, your noodle budget, beefing up your savings, paying down your
Mm-hmm.
debt, just those good fundamental. I mean, I know you don't have your big get good with money picture behind you right now, but I do have the book back there, if you guys can see.
Go
It's
ahead
behind
and go
me next to our
go
wedding.
ahead to getgomoney.com and get you a copy. For real. Really now is the time to
Yes.
really lock in on the fundamentals, the financial fundamentals.
Hell yeah. That's like, what is it? $20 now? $20 well spent, y'all. It's probably on
Yes.
sale on Amazon, but
It probably
support a
is,
local bookseller.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ms. Chanel, for your question. Thank you all for your incredible questions.
Yes.
Y'all can hit us up. We're brownambitionpodcast.com. You can also DM us at Brown Ambition Podcast on Instagram or email us brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com.
Until next week. Bye. Hey, BA fam. We're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.